You're listening to the Renegade Blitz. Follow us on Twitter at Renegade Blitz, at RBlitzPod, and at Blitz Videos. And subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast app.
Don't worry.
Unless my computer starts to work.
If your computer works, your computer works. If not, whatever. They'll just catch the replay. Welcome back to the Renegade Blitz. I'm Ty Polk with Chris Ward and Brandon Walker. It's the conference championships, pre-conference championships episode as we are recording this late into the night as we're officially in the night owl stage of this podcast. And, well, let's talk about the big story, at least this. Art Rooney II basically said in his media availability that the Steelers going 7-2 and showing positive signs, which I'm pretty sure was everyone's thoughts, it just confirmed it, was the reason why Matt Canada is staying as offensive coordinator for the next season. Now, honestly, when I knew it was going to be like that, so he didn't really have to say anything. He could have just said, I just felt like bringing them back. We know why. Right, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I thought about. It was like, he really didn't. Art Rooney II, he really never says anything really that's like crazy or earth shattering anyway. But that was like one of the least, newsworthy media availabilities that he had in quite some time. I feel like he talked about the biggest thing was talking about the AFC neutral conference championship site where he said, I hate it, which I fully agree with Rooney there. And then he talked about the international game, which they've been talking about for years, how the Steelers, they won't play an international game this year. And, they want to be in Mexico because of the big fan base down there. But they're reinventing or they're doing some construction on the stadium down there for the World Cup in 2026. So there will be no game there this year. But eventually, I think the Steelers will have a game there in Mexico.
Okay. Sorry, yawn.
Oh, Brandon, you're tired.
I'm always I'm like, okay, the Rooney's like Artie the Third says he didn't want to fire Matt Canada fired. Canada, I'm not surprised. It's a business. Number one, you don't want to talk about. You don't want to just get your rookie quarterback, your young quarterback, to go through different offensive coordinators like that just because the fans want it to happen. Number two, AFC the conference championship games on the road, like neutral site. What's the point of having a home divisional game? What's the point of having a home field advantage if you ain't gonna use if it's not gonna be used until the Super Bowl? And what was the third point you was talking about?
Basically, the Steelers not playing at Estadio Azteca because, well, they're trying to renovate for the World Cup, which is understandable. But how many international games the Steelers have ever had? I don't even think they were in the Japan Bowl. It was England. England won against Minnesota. It wasn't even a good Steelers team.
Yeah, it was that 2013 team. But yeah, they'll probably get chosen for one eventually, just not this year. They just have to relax, and plus they're probably gonna be the road team anyway because they never take away home games from Pittsburgh. That's not gonna happen. So if it was, it's gonna be the road team. But yeah, what the main thing about his media availability is, I would say, number one, it would be about Canada. Not only they don't want to like doing that. Come on, they don't like paying coaches if they ain't gonna be there. Plus, it's like I think Tomlin would like to. That's really Tomlin's offense. If you could blame anybody, you could blame him for the offense more than Canada, like I said previously.
Yeah. He makes the final decisions with that, and I think that was ultimately a final decision that there's just being rolled with by the entire organization in terms of Matt Canada. Look, it's an excellent scapegoat. He's got one more year on his contract. If he's bad, you could shuck him into the gutter like you did the last guy. So awesome. If it works, they look like geniuses for sticking around with a second year for a young quarterback with an offensive coordinator. If it doesn't work, then as many people are saying, it's another wasted year. But regardless, it's a lose-lose situation for everyone unless, out of nowhere, Byron Leftwich, which everyone wants, but I know that he'll be the next guy that everyone throws under the bus, becomes the passing game coordinator and eventually the offensive coordinator for this team. And honestly, it's a smart thing that the Steelers are doing, and hopefully the Bills are doing the same thing because there's a lot of people that want to fire Ken Dorsey. I'll just put it to you like this when it comes to fans in football. We don't know what we're talking about, so we're just going to let it go. I mean, that's what the fans are really about. If something's bad, they'll blame whoever was the cause of it, even if it was an aggressive offense like the Bills or what the Steelers are right now. But now let's move on to another topic, and of course, it's the big one. It's the conference championships. Now, for the last 2 weeks, everyone has been sitting there pondering, wondering if the Steelers were in the playoffs, would they have made it to the conference championships? Probably not. Probably not. But anything could happen in the world of you think that anything can happen. But at least in this world, they're not in the playoffs. So yeah. But who do we have for this as we try to find out who's going to be in the Super Bowl in 2 weeks after this? I'm going to say that it's going to be the Andy Reid Bowl, and it's going to be Philadelphia, Kansas City.
That'll be a real interesting headline there. 49ers, Bengals, that'll be like 1980 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Bengals, Eagles, that doesn't really have much like as far as like storylines. I mean, they're all 4 teams. I think that it's clearly they're the best teams all year. What's the other Super Bowl possibility?
Kansas City, San Francisco, a rematch of Patrick Mahomes' golden hour.
Yeah,
without the guy that effectively made that gun trips right, jet tip loss play work.
Yeah. So I think wow, this is gonna be really. Eagles are loaded on their whole roster is really good, and they're gonna have a top 10 pick, which is pretty crazy to even think about. But man, 49ers have a really good defense. I love watching those inside linebackers that they have. Bosa. I don't really. I think you think Purdy's gonna. You think he's gonna come down to earth here and have a rookie moment there in Philadelphia at the NFC Championship game? Do you think that moment's gonna be too big for him?
I don't think the moment's going to be too big for him, but I just think Philadelphia being at home in that crowd, and it's going to be the difference in that game. That's why I'm having Philadelphia and Kansas City. Because I had Philly all along. I'm like, man, Philly's just good. A.J. Brown, Miles Sanders, Devontae Smith. You had Dallas Goedert. They have too many weapons, and then Jalen Hurts is an MVP candidate. Defense, you got Bradbury, Slade.
Their defensive line.
Yeah. I didn't even know Ndamukong Suh was on the team.
They signed him late. It was even in a lot of circles with the NFC. It was like, oh man, the Eagles are adding to that already stacked defensive line in that 4-3 defense. They're the quintessential in today's NFL game 4-3 team. 4-2-5 team, in which basically you say, we're just going to let our defensive linemen go out there and get after your quarterback, and we're going to let everyone drop back.
Yeah. Right. And when we had who's the guest that we had on time for the Eagles-Steelers preview?
John Marks. We had him on for both of them.
Yeah, and he told us that the Eagles, they've always, prioritized the offensive line and defensive line. That's where the Eagles. I mean, look, they have Lane Johnson at right tackle, and then Jason Kelce at center. Kelce's he's going to be a Hall of Famer. I mean, probably Lane Johnson might be there too. I mean, they're two of the best in the league. So yeah, I mean, they're really loaded there. And then I like the 49ers, but I agree with you guys. I just can't see them going into Philadelphia when, kind of pains me because I'm not the biggest Eagles supporter and everything. But I mean,
and you're from the area.
Yeah,
I'm actually the one that's supporting the Eagles as the one that's actually from Pittsburgh, and I'll tell you why in a second.
Yeah, well,
why do you support them, Ty?
Why do I support them? Number one, I've always been a huge fan of Donovan McNabb. I said that to Sirianni's brother in the press box at Cannon Mac. I've always been a big fan of like the Eagles and stuff like that. The things they do, and I think they're the more likable NFC East team, as much as I like to say. But also, as a Steelers fan, you have to remember this: Andy Weidel was a part of the creation of that offensive line and defensive line group. And I think the best possible scenario for the Steelers becoming competitive is, of course, in the trenches. And if you have the guy that was a part of that trench warfare in terms for the Eagles and how they've been so dominant, really you have to go all the way back to the first Super Bowl win for them, because that's where the offensive line, defensive line was at its best. And now that they have this guy in there, and as you're trying to rebuild this entire team again on the fly, as they always do, why not start there?
Yeah.
As far as my dislike for the Eagles, is just, like Ty, I'm from that Philadelphia era, but all the fans are just, the media is like all Philadelphia. Like they're a pretty annoying fan base, but fans are fans. But I can't hate on their success that they've been having.
I can't even. It's like this. I can't stand Philadelphia either.
Howie Roseman, I think he's the best GM in the league.
Yeah, he's great. Like they've been great. Like literally, they were in the NFC Championship game. Literally every year I was in high school.
Yeah. They lost all. They won finally the 04.
Because all they needed was one freaking talent on offense that wasn't Brett Selleck and Brian Westbrook and Donovan McNabb trying to throw to James Thrash, Fred X, Freddie Mitchell. What else? Who else? Todd Pinkston.
Todd
Pinkston.
That was the name I was thinking about. What was the play? Who caught the 4th and 28?
Freddie Mitchell.
Freddie Mitchell was.
Freddie Mitchell. Fred X, man. I mean, it's proof. It's proof that if the Eagles had any of the luck the Steelers have had drafting a wide receiver, they would have won at least one Super Bowl in that entire run.
Right.
Because actually, in terms of it, they had, as amazing as I'd like to say, I remember the Tampa Super Bowl, they had better offensive talent in some spots than Tampa Bay had. Especially a quarterback, but that's another thing. We're not going to make this into an Eagles podcast, but I'll just put it to you like this, Chris.
All right, let's just ask this question, because how as us, well, I'm still a reporter. You two are real fans. Let's face it. I'm just going to cut the lid off of this bad boy. I'm a Washington Commanders fan.
Oh yeah.
Okay?
Oh, now
we know.
Cut the lid off about this.
Yeah, I thought you always
real,
go back and forth.
Let's just cut the lid off of this thing.
You have a love-hate relationship
since we're like the game has changed, let's just cut the lid off. All right. I love Tom Brady. I love Bill Belichick. That is my thing.
You just want a winner, man.
Huh?
You just want a winner. That's all.
Look, I just live here. Damn it. I make my living covering this too. Just like I make a good coverage fan say, you can clip it, you can place it, you can delete this off the scene, but let's just be real. If we're gonna be real and just if the game has changed, let's just be honest.
You can have likes for a bunch of things. I mean, I'll put it to you like this. There's a lot of allegiances that you'd be surprised that I'd have with that. And Chris, I can see why you being in the area, because there's a lot of fans of other teams here in Pittsburgh. I have friends who I went to school with who are Los Angeles Chargers fans. I have friends who are Cincinnati Bengals fans, and congratulations to them towards finally getting the team that they really deserve. Honestly, for them, I'm happy. Everything else, no. But I got Dallas Cowboys fans. I mean, Baltimore Ravens in Pittsburgh. It happens when you're around a fan base so much, because admittedly, sometimes this fan base makes me want to jump. Sometimes it does.
Yeah, but what I'm saying this, now they're like the Steelers fans are like saying, "Well, I could tolerate Joe Burrow," and I was like, "Oh no, you ain't. Let them win the Super Bowl this year. You guys are just mocking them. Now, you guys, if they can't do that, you can't call them the Bungles anymore because that meme was dead. Matter of fact, I was hoping to the Lord upstairs that the Bengals win the Super Bowl just for the Steelers fans to shut the hell up and stop mocking them.
Well, yeah, I mean they're way far ahead of the Steelers right now. They're not. The Steelers are so far.
It doesn't matter. They can always go back and say they're the Bungles until they win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I know that there's that.
And I wanted that to stop. I wanted that to just.
But I'll tell you this though.
I'm sorry.
Moving to the AFC game, because I talked quite a bit about the NFC. I think the Eagles are going to win, but moving to the AFC, I'll tell you what about the Bengals. They're a one cocky team, and if they end up losing, I mean, I think it's going to look.
They're gonna get smoked on Twitter for.
I mean, the thing that I thought was crazy is that some players on the Bengals were smoking cigars after a divisional round game. That's for like championship, like maybe you win the AFC championship, you do that. Or definitely a Super Bowl that happens, but a divisional round game. I mean, they still got to get through the Chiefs, who are a juggernaut. They've been this is their 5th straight AFC championship appearance. Mahomes, dealing with that was it ankle injury? I think ankle. So it'll be interesting how much mobility he has. I saw someone put on Twitter today or this week about how if he's 1990 Dan Marino, that's not going to be good for the Chiefs as far as mobility. But I don't know, this team. I keep on going back and forth on this game. I mean, I really don't. I'll probably go with the Chiefs, just the home field advantage. I think, and I think the Chiefs are due because Burrow's 3-0 against the Chiefs and Mahomes.
I'll put it to you like this: with Cincinnati, this team is basically the 2019-2020 LSU Tigers all grown up. I remember watching that post celebration in there. Joe Burrow smoking cigars in there. Odell Beckham somehow ended up in the locker room giving stacks before NIL to LSU players. I mean, when you look at it, the two best players on that team offensively that are not named Justin Jefferson are on that team, and it's basically taking that entire identity. And you want to know something? I'm fine with it, because think about it like this. You've seen Bill Cowher. When I say who they, you say we they. Sometimes sometimes you just have to. It's your time.
Yeah. I just like that Burrow video of him throwing the ball in the snow and like him turning his back. Like, I didn't get what was so special about that. Like, I guess social media, like, they hype up everything that's like.
It looks cool.
It looks cool. Yeah.
My mom even likes Joe Burrow.
Bro, yeah, I
like him too.
He's got
I know. The only reason I'm picking him because I'm like, you're not gonna beat you. You can't beat Patrick Mahomes 4 times in a row. I don't know if you can do that.
If he does it, then it's official. This Bengals team, by the end of this run, better have a Super Bowl, or it's one of the bigger mishaps in history. I think it would be a bigger mishap than going to the Super Bowl 4 times and losing all 4 times.
If the Bengals win this game, they're winning the Super Bowl. Guaranteed.
Fair statement at this point. I'd say it's a fair statement because that offensive line, that was the one thing that was missing from that team last year that would have beat the Rams. If that offensive line that they have right now were there last year, they beat the Los Angeles Rams in Los Angeles.
Yes. But I'm only picking the Chiefs because of that. I have a feeling the Bengals are a little bit more balanced of a team than the Kansas City Chiefs. But I'm like, they're not going to beat them twice. I'm giving Patrick Mahomes the benefit of the doubt here. That's why I'm picking the Chiefs. But,
Law of averages. Law of averages always comes in, and I could see why you would say that, because there's just no way that a team can have a team figured out that well, and it's not the New England Patriots. So we'll see about that. But Brandon, you had this article in the New Pittsburgh Courier. Of course, it's been a really big story. It's non-Steeler related, of course, but because you are a New Pittsburgh Courier reporter, and obviously the New Pittsburgh Courier's history with players from HBCUs, it's a very strong topic and something you should talk about. Ed Reed was working without a contract, the former Baltimore Ravens legend. He was working without a contract from Bethune-Cookman University in Daytona Beach, Florida. He was still doing all the stuff for that. He was recruiting kids. He was getting them ready for the season. But of course, he had some words to say about the conditions of those facilities down at Bethune-Cookman. And it's been a big topic of interest across HBCUs for many things. Amenities not being up to par for anywhere, not just an HBCU college, but a college period. What else? Mold on floors, stuff like that. And then when you go into the football side of it, not proper facilities for these kids and these coaches to go out there and do their thing. So, Brandon, talk about this and talk about your article.
Okay. Here's the thing. Us who went, I didn't go to HBCU. But no, you didn't go to HBCU. But we all watch shows like A Different World. We watch Stomp the Yard, seeing the step shows. You ever been to Still Say Step Show, Ty?
No, I haven't. I'd love to go, though.
We might have to hook that up. It's probably usually not. But I've been there a few times, quite a few times. But step shows, battle of the bands. It's a whole grandiose situation that you could see. But we all know. But people know in the know. They're pieces of crap, and we talked about it on the podcast. We talked about Jackson State's stadium situation and all that stuff. There are in most HBCUs, even HBCUs as prominent as Howard University has had problems with. You get $300 million per year in student tuitions income, and then you have a $900 endowment. That's $1.2 million. Billion. There ain't no excuse to not have mold in there. Simple maintenance and upkeep can prevent that to happen. Getting your food, getting the proper chefs, getting proper training for your things. That's stuff that you can control. On top of that, the misappropriation of funds and all this other stuff. I was on Urban Media Today, and the host Trevin Jones, he's a Norfolk State alum. He told me which I am educated about this. I want to educate myself more before I just really go and tap into it, what I see. But I'm just going on the rant. There are organizations out there, your fraternities and sororities. They can go up and pick up trash and influence others to pick up trash around the campus to make sure that athletic facilities or the campus in general look like that. Clean up the dorm rooms or something. And make sure you got a janitor. It takes $20 to clean the office? In other offices, you don't care about this man to clean up the man's office, knowing that he could bring more value to the university. And second of all, the athletic director, Reggie Theus. For Chris, if you don't know him, He was an NBA player. Put it this way. He played for the Chicago Bulls before Michael Jordan. Like, Jordan took his spot. Jordan just took his spot and kept it, and then Jordan was Jordan. So how are you going to be an athletic director? And you got to ask this question. An athletic director at a D1 school, I don't care how small you might say it is, and a major generating coach for a major generating team, a basketball coach. How does that work? There is no institution I know of. Even in high school, I don't think that works. I mean, I can see the track coach being the athletic director because that was mine in high school. But no, because you never know now. So now it's like, where's the money getting allocated in your athletic coach? Is it going to be more towards the basketball program and hoarding money from that? Did he want a piece of the income that the donations that the athletic program is going to have? When Edgerrin James and Shaq and all these other guys came in, he might want a piece of that, or piece of that for himself. He's good because he might pocket the money for himself, and knowing for what they're saying, he wasn't gonna give it to his basketball players anyway. But I'm sorry, I said a lot. I said my little piece. Let's see what y'all got.
I mean, it's a mess. It's a mess with HBCUs, and I will say this. At Point Park, there was officially no fraternities. You could go join fraternities from outside things. I know of someone who was a Q dog.
Big Mouth.
Yeah.
Malcolm?
Also Theo Washington, who was on the track and field team. But we did have a black student union and stuff like that, and those were honestly one of the highlights of my time at Point Park, not just doing my thing right here and also doing my radio stuff. So I tried to have as close to that HBCU life that you could have at a PWU. Whatever. So in terms of it hurts because you want something better for all of these colleges, and not just the Division I colleges. This affects all the way down the line, because what many people don't know is that there's Division II, Division III, NAIA. There's even small colleges and other non-NCAA and NAIA institutions that this also affects. So our former president, Donald Trump, actually had a mandate in which there was going to be some help for these HBCU schools. Now my question is this: where did that money go? Where did that money go? Because that's federal. There's very few things that I could possibly say about the previous institution in office, but I can say that there was at least one moment where I was like, yeah, this is good. This is good. Now the onus is on these. It's a lot similar to what I see with certain schools that I know around the area who have all this money from the pandemic, the PPP loans and stuff like that, and other grants and stuff like that, and they want to create new things for the school, but the problem is the money's going to run out. So before you can actually get the building built. So what's the plan? What's the plan to get immediate help for these institutions right now? And is it not going to have any games with it? Because if it has games with it, you might as well kill HBCU sports at the Division I level, and most likely in other levels. Because
I don't think it's going to be killed. I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. There will be no SWAC or MEAC. That's going to be gone. Like, look, North Carolina A&T joined a PWI conference. Hampton University joined a PWI conference. Trust me, Elite, the SWAC, a lot of MEAC schools in SWAC, they were kind of They were MEAC, but now they're trying to save it. They're going to be joining PWI conference. A lot of these schools, they're not trying to jump off and get off this board. I don't know how the conference is going to do because they're going to run conditions about him being in the conference, and then they're going to have to regulate if they join these conferences. They're going to have to find a way to regulate how they're making their funds.
There's a lot of things you could go into it, and I think the best thing, but at the same time, sometimes not the best thing was potentially splitting off. I understand that there's money things and they can't afford to be in the FCS playoffs, but I'm just saying, I'd like to believe that Jackson State would have at least made a few runs. Like, maybe they get beat up by one of the directional Dakota State schools, but they go and have a good showing.
I think they beat them.
Here's the thing. I don't believe that, because you're talking about, it's one thing if they're going out there and getting high level talent from upper echelon FBS Power 5, and also they're stealing away talent that would probably be going to one of your favorite schools, non-Penn State, Florida State, or something like that. It's a different ball game, because I know for a fact with all these schools, because I watched the Dakota State schools, North Dakota State, play their game, and it's a different game from some of these MEAC or SWAC schools. It would be tough for them. Do I think that they could pull it out? Yes, but I'm not going to hold my breath or hedge my bets if that were to happen. Would I love to see it happen?
They could. Oh, you could be right. You could, because you watch that more regular than me. I basically stick to a few schools. I mean, I stick to everything but recruiting. But to watch, the only team I really watched this year is like Penn State, to be honest, college team. I watched other schools, but mainly that was my focus.
So Brandon, this is what I don't get, is that if Ed Reed told the administration everything that he had, like, Shaq, who's a billionaire, right? He was going to invest in the program and stuff. Why would they come with a contract and support all that stuff? They thought he wasn't going to come through or something?
It's an ego situation. Because Reggie Theus is a celebrity in his own right, too. He was on this, like, lame, boring program I watched in the 90s when I was a kid. Game Time or something. It had Dick Buckus in it. And Dick Buckus wasn't acted to. He's, like, been announcing and color commentating. He's on NBA Live 2000.
Yeah.
That's legendary game.
Yeah, I have that.
So, it ain't like this dude, like, he's older. He has it. Like, he's going to want to, it was a power stroke. And Ed Reed isn't like Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders he's very calculated. He's polished. Not that Ed Reed is not smart. He's a very intelligent football player, very intelligent man, but he's more polished. He knows how to finesse. Yeah.
Stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Did any of you guys actually see that?
If you hear his speeches, he's like very passionate, no nonsense, straight up. Because you see how he got into it with Shannon Sharp.
Yeah. So
He said something to Shannon. Club Shay, and he's in. Okay. All right.
Yeah, let's not go there. But I want to say this about Ed Reed, and he's clearly very passionate about this. Did you guys see the CNN interview where he had actually, I guess, like a spokesman alongside him, but he's tore up. He's tore up from the beyond the ground floor. He's absolutely heartbroken with this situation, because he claims that he had offer from Jackson State as well. This is of course is disputed a little bit, but he's so passionate about it that you want to go look more. I've seen disputes about that again. he clearly wanted to do something better with Bethune-Cookman. Don't know how it would have ended up with Bethune-Cookman, but it would have been something to at least see. I don't think it was going to reach the heights that Jackson State was because Deion Sanders, he's a personality with that, and Ed Reed, he's a personality too. But I remember Ed Reed more for what he did on the field. Not that I don't remember what Deion Sanders did on the field. It's just when I think of Deion, I think of salesman and primetime. And while Reed is arguably the best safety of his generation, I only say arguably because we can never discount Troy Polamalu on a Steelers podcast. So,
right.
yeah.
I'm look here. I was passionate because out of the two, I'm more of an Ed Reed guy. I like this style. I just liked his swagger. Love Polamalu too. But I think the best never mind. We're not gonna go there again. That's
No,
another.
I mean it's honestly a pick your poison ass situation. Brandon, I've said on this podcast a million times, my favorite wide receiver growing up was Chad Johnson. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to go.
It's not even that. I was gonna just go into another tangent about that's off subject. We're trying to stick to the subject.
Well,
yes,
you guys remember Ed Reed's speech when he was at Miami? Was that the national championship game?
I don't remember his speech.
Oh, it's a famous speech that he did on.
Oh, you talking about? He was like, "I'm hurt.
Yeah,
I'm hurt," or something.
Yeah.
That was against Florida State.
Oh, against Florida State. Okay. Well, you see, like that's been Ed Reed his entire football career. He's a great motivator. That's what's been so disappointing is that I think he would do a great job at Bethune-Cookman and any schools really. So I hope he gets an opportunity. Another HBCU school or any school really pick. I think isn't Deion Sanders like what did he say to him? Because I didn't read the article, but I saw that they spoke with each other.
They spoke to each other on the live, and he said, "Don't worry. He knew. I told you this was going to happen like this. What it was going to be like. Keep your head up." I think if he was, I would. If I was at Reed, I'd try to go to Colorado.
Yeah, or if he wants to be the head guy, I'm pretty sure that he can go find a job up Teal or something like that. I mean, he could go Division III. There's many routes that he could go and probably command a head coaching job off from the jump. There's some Division I, Division II, Division III, maybe even NAIA school out there, a kid or junior college school out there that could use something that could really get a program galvanized. I think that he has somewhere in football as a head coach if he's given that chance. Do I think he'll get it anywhere else other than an HBCU right now? No. But because that's trying to sell, remember how college football used to be about the coach's brand selling? It's really like that in HBCU football right now. It's a relic of the past when you really look at it.
Yeah, they're trying to sell the brand, but what are you going to sell right now? How are you going to sell HBCUs to anyone?
After this, probably one of the best HBCU football games ever in the Celebration Bowl that I legitimately looked up and said this game was a classic, and a lot of people should have seen this, or if you were me, seen and listened to it, because that was a great game. And I think the worst possible thing for them is the season ended. Really. And Deion Sanders is out because that's where most of their notoriety and recognition is there. Do I think that they could potentially pick that up again? It's going to have to take someone special coming out of the woodworks, or Bethune-Cookman's really going to have a come to Jesus moment.
Yeah, because it's like Ed Reed could have been that, could have picked up where he left off.
I think he probably would have stayed.
Yeah, I thought so too.
I know you said on previous podcasts and also in in previous discussions, by the way, that Tennessee State is not an HBCU. It is considered an HBCU.
It is an HBCU.
It's just not in it's just not in the conferences.
Yeah, it's not in the conferences. It's always been an HBCU.
So
people would have thought it wasn't. It is. Trust and believe. It is. You see them. Like, trust me, it is it is crazy. It's because it's right by Fisk University. Like, I think that like NCAAT is they're just now in the Big South or whatever conference they're not. They're not in the conferences anymore.
They're facing off against RMU, for the love of God.
Yeah, NCAAT?
Yeah, I think they're in the same conference as RMU.
Yeah.
Or is RMU still in the NEC for football? We'll look it up later. It's not really important to the podcast.
It's not important about this. But
it's strong moments because we care about this and we care about the legacy of HBCU football because it means so much to this franchise, and really it means a lot to people like me and you, Brandon, and of course Chris loves football and loves history. It also means something to him. We're not going to discount anyone when it comes to this. Right. We want to see HBCUs succeed, and we want to hopefully have a pipeline from them that goes to the Steelers, and they can get back to where they were.
Yeah, I mean, Hargrave went to South Carolina State, and he could be potential Super Bowl winner. That's another 4 Steelers are at least one of them is going to be guaranteed to get a Super Bowl ring. Juju Smith-Schuster, Ray McLeod, Javon Hargrave, and who's the other one? Just slipped my mind. Oh, Mike Hilton, of course, Mike Hilton. Yeah. So those four players are guaranteed to at least get a Super Bowl ring this year.
Well, they always got to be in there somehow, I guess. But
yeah.
Hey, best of luck to them, and no matter what happens, me personally, I just want the franchise aspect for Philadelphia winning the Super Bowl. But if not, I'm cool with anything because I'll admit the second choice is the Bengals because I hope it wakes this organization up. But that's another thing. Yeah. I don't know if that'll happen. It's like Philadelphia Flyers. But anyway, that's all for us here on the Renegade Blitz. We've been talking a while. Again, thank you for listening to us for this pre-conference finals podcast. Yeah. I'm Ty Polk. That's Chris Ward. That's Brandon Walker. See you later.
Thank you for listening to the Renegade Blitz podcast. Follow us on Twitter at Renegade Blitz, at Art Blitz Pod, and at Blitz Videos. And subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast app. The Renegade Blitz podcast is available on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, YouTube, Spotify, and wherever else you can listen to podcasts.